My name is Lauren Michelle Harge. I'm the founder and senior education and brand consultant for Manifesto Consultancy, and I am the co-facilitator of this event and Disney's manager as well. I am so excited to see you all here. We're talking about a really great cause today, which is domestic violence. We're talking about a lot of different types of violences, but we are going to be shaking it away. We're going to be dancing it away. We're going to be cleansing, and we're going to be opening our hearts and our spirits to really show up and be vulnerable today. And I cannot wait until you see what we have in store. Um, we mentioned in a lot of our marketing, all of the proceeds here today are going directly to the Blitch Fund. So that way, folks, recipients can get the money directly into their pockets. Um, I have been a counselor and an advocate for gender based violence for a very long time. Since I started in college when I went to Cal Poly Pomona, I volunteered at the Women's Center. Um, and a lot of the things that I learned there was very eye opening in regards to what women and trans folks and non binary folks go through on a regular basis. But then when I started to look at who was the most represented in those violences, it was us Black folk. And I'm getting chills because not only am I a facilitator or event planner for the day, but I'm also a survivor as well. And you'll get to know a little bit more about me in my keynote speech. But I'm also a generational curse breaker. So my family, my mama, my grandma, we've all been through different kinds of violences, and it's affected our genes, our generational line. And today we're doing some stuff to heal from that. And we have the amazing Daisy on the other end with her church fan from last year's Afro-Mystic Sacrament. And she's going to talk to you and welcome you a little and let you know about the Blitch Fund.
All right, y'all. Let me see if I can talk and manage manage the Zoom at the same time. But welcome. Thank everybody for showing up in this space, in this particular unique type of conference that we have decided to put together for the Blitch Fund. For everybody who doesn't know me, my name is Daisy, also known as the AfroMystic by the community that I serve, also known by my initiatory title in Ganga Makosi Chimarenga Chanjuzu. I am a priestess of the water spirits of the Njuzu of the Shona tradition. I'm also an initiated hoodoo priestess. I've underwent the initiation process into a particular lineage of the hoodoo tradition. And that as a collective of hoodoo practitioners is what we are reinstituting into our tradition, making sure that we know that hoodoo is the original spiritual practice of all African people brought to this part of the world via the Ma'afa, or what we sometimes call the transatlantic slave trade. So where you're at right now is a conference that we put together called Love Doesn't Hurt. This month is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And, you know, instead of doing the yearly gathering that we started last year, which was like a party, a celebration, and ancestor veneration / my birthday event, because of the Rona and because of wanting to make sure that we are partying on purpose, as Manifesto Consultancy says, we wanted to put together this unique fundraiser for the Blitch Fund dedicated to survivors of domestic violence, survivor warriors of the domestic violence or intimate partner violence experience. Like she said, 100% of the proceeds of the tickets go directly into the Blitch Fund, and we are prioritizing individuals who have received violence by the hand of a partner or a family member or a close loved one. I too am a survivor warrior of domestic violence. It's been about 10 years since I had that experience. And I noticed that during that time in particular, I experienced quite a bit of a sense of stuckness. The main part of my stuckness was not being able to financially support myself in leaving that relationship. A lot of my finances had got intertwined with this person's finances, or, you know, we were paying for things together. And I was just hoping and praying and wishing at that time that a collection of money would just drop out of the sky for me to get my ass out, get a ticket, to get rent a room somewhere, just to leave, just to have that space. And from that understanding and perspective is why the Blitch Fund was created. So the Blitch Fund is a permanent Pan-African philanthropic fund. It's private. Only people who are part of the collective in the healthy way can contribute, and only people who are part of the collective in the healthy way can receive. So it's a private Pan-African philanthropic fund, started in 2016. Since 2016, we have given about $25,000 to Black predominantly head of households in the United States, in the Caribbean, and in Africa. So we are touching home and the diaspora with this fund. Recipients are on a no questions asked basis. We throw the divination, and if the ancestors say they can have it, they can have it. And we keep in connection with our recipients to make sure that they're doing well moving forward. Manifesto Consultancy, we just brought her on to create more content and a private experience for funders and for recipients, so that we can make sure that this community is building itself. Because it's one thing to receive a gift, a financial gift or a blessing, but to have support and community as you work through potentially leaving a traumatic situation or a financially abusive situation, a domestically abusive situation, we want to make sure that healing happens generationally and that the curse stops now. Okay.
And I just wanted to say one more thing about the Love Doesn't Hurt retreat. The reason why we came up with that name, to be completely transparent and authentic, it came from a conversation that I was having with a friend and a sister and a survivor who just recently got out of a situation. And, you know, she was talking about her associations with love and what love meant to her. And in every conversation that she was having, love meant pain. Love meant shame. Love meant a negative connotation. And I was sitting there and I was holding her as she was crying. We were crying together because the things that she was saying was a reflection of me. But the thing that I whispered to her was, love doesn't hurt. And I think that that is a slogan. It's not just the name of a retreat, but it's an affirmation. It is, Daisy's also a hypnotherapist, and she teaches us about language and words. Love does not hurt. Saying that out loud, chills again. We have to train our mind to not normalize violence and behaviors against us. So with no further ado, we're gonna get into how we're gonna dance it off. We'll be starting with a Haitian dance class. Then I will be your keynote speaker.
Hey, she cute. Look at her. Look at her.
And I'll be teaching you all how to identify different types of abuse, not just domestic abuse, because we're affected by a lot of different abuses. And also we'll be having a panel of clinicians, professionals, healers that have been doing the work that's going to share their stuff. We're going to be doing a African self-defense class. You're going to learn how to kill people with credit cards. Yes, yes. If somebody hit you again, I'm sorry, because I've just been in moments where I've been under abuse, and we've been taught victim. You know what I mean? Like, don't fight back, don't hit back, don't do that. And that is something that I've normalized in my life. So I'm more excited about that class than probably y'all are. I'm about to be like, chick, chick, chick. But anyways, sorry. But yes, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. Colette will be she'll be transitioning into the Haitian dance class. And like I said, the reason why we're doing that y'all all know that movement in our body is what breaks up those negative energies. Movement in our body is what breaks up that negative energy, okay? Like we have to be moving our hips, we have to be dancing that pain away. Solange talks about it. You know, I don't know how many Solange fans. Raise your hand if you're a Solange fan. Hmm? Yeah, yeah, I see y'all. Yes. Y'all want me to sing? I tried to drink it away. That's it. You'll get the rest later. but but yeah, so we're gonna be doing that, and then there's gonna be Daisy's gonna give you a exclusive class on spiritual protection and ooh 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 mm, mm, mm. She's gonna let you know how to protect yourself while you're in the situation. Maybe if you're thinking about transitioning out of your abusive relationship, or you've already transitioned and you're trying to figure out how to get your mind right again. Because we do definitely have to figure out how to ground ourselves after we've left so much trauma and so much violence. So we have a lot of stuff available for you today, and I'm so happy to have you here. Oh, I'm gonna shed some tears. And I just have to tell you, my moon is in Cancer, and my mama was a Pisces, so you will see me crying all day. Probably during my keynote, probably during your keynote, uh, probably during the times of your testimony. And we will be opening it up because we don't want this to be a retreat where we're talking at you only. We will be opening it up for survivors and survivor warriors that want to talk about their experiences and, you know, share what they feel and what they learned or what they need. And we're going to open it up, and we're going to open our hearts up, and we're going to use our collective energy as a healing like a healing module today. And let's see. Is Colette ready?
I think Colette is gearing up.
Yeah.
Mama Eloi, Mambo. She's gearing up right now. And as she is getting it together, one thing I wanted to say is that throughout this process, please, as we're talking about our experiences collectively and individually with this type of violence, remember your mothers, remember your grandmothers, remember your aunties and cousins. The healing that we're doing today should be felt 23 generations into the future and 23 generations behind you. What we are doing today is making sure that the end of violence against women or non-men is here. We're not allowing anyone in our family, we're not allowing ourselves to be the recipient of violence and creating more problems for the next generations to come. So the theme of this program is warrior survivors, right? Anyone who has dared, any Black body, any Black individual who has dared to live, thrive, and survive, or try and thrive in today's time, is fighting a fight. You are a warrior, and the more weapons you have in your toolkit, the better. Mm-hmm. So as we transition into our Haitian dance class, one thing I wanted to do is to start us off with a warrior call, and I am going to add Manbo, ask Manbo to join us in this warrior call. Manbo, Colette.
Bilolo. How are y'all doing? I am Bilolo. Yes. I'm so happy to be here.
Happy to have you.
Should I go ahead? Oh, yes.
Can you hear me and see me okay?
What the work that you guys, huh?
I can hear you. Go on.
Okay, go. The work that you guys are doing is the Holy Spirit work. What you are doing is the ancestors' work. You are representing God Almighty. The words that you're saying, are bringing me chills. And you are what our ancestors dreamt of. And I'm so proud and happy to be here to share part of my culture. I'm here with my sister, Kecha Duka, and together we do work and from the Haitian lineage, both of our lineages. I represent my grandmother, the healer, Jedon Loiseau. When I used to come home from school, she'd be praying on the phone, healing people on the phone, back and right. They'd be in Boston, Florida, all around the world. And when she prayed loud, and it would be a song like this one. Esilidando, prete poule pour moi, m'a fait magie à marcher. Esilidando, prete poule pour moi, m'a fait magie à marcher. C'est où qui ouais. C'est où qui ouais. C'est où qui ouais. Ando, prête pour moi, m'a fait magie à marcher. Esilidando, prête pour moi, m'a fait magie à marcher. Esilidando, prête pour moi, m'a fait magie à marcher. C'est où qui ouais, c'est où qui ouais. C'est où qui ouais, c'est où qui ouais d'ando. Esilidando, prête pour moi, m'a fait magie à marcher. Bilolo.
Bilolo.
So we're gonna do yes. So I'm gonna ask the host if folks can unmic occasionally to yell out Bilolo. Like part of this, what we fighting right here, this kind of toxic patriarchy that shows up in the form of beating women, also in that kind of disembodiment, separating mind from body, separating spirit from body, kind of is really happening through this Zoom stuff. So to do this work, it's important that we harmonize our voices. So when she told me y'all was gonna do the battle cry, I was like, ooh, I gotta be there for that. So like everybody. Working with the Zoom, we're gonna work with.
Okay, well,
hello?
We here. I can see you and hear you just fine. We went ahead and asked everybody to unmute their microphones to join in the call. We're going. If your background is loud, you can go ahead and mute it. But if you want to participate with your voice, like Manbo suggests, we allowed everybody to unmute their mics for now, and then we're going to move on into your class. Is that okay, Manbo?
Yes, we gotta be one voice.
I share.
My name is Laura Michelle Harge, the founder of Manifesto Consultancy and co-facilitator of this event. I am very excited to talk to you today, even though some people will be like, violence is pretty somber, but I'm excited because I know that this is going to be a moment of healing for everyone. Even myself, even as a person who is a practitioner and a healer of these different kinds of things, I still need my community and my collective to, push me forward. And the title of today's workshop is called Gone Girl, From Survivor to Warrior Woman. Understanding domestic violence and ways to identify you're in an abusive relationship. The reason why I titled this was I was asking my ancestors to guide me. Every day I would pick cards, we would pick cards at the office, and we would ask, guide me. And I asked a specific question around, what am I supposed to be bringing to folks to, you know, the Black women, what am I supposed to say? Haven't they heard it all? I feel like I've heard it all. You know, and I wanted, this is so special to me. I want it to be perfect. And I'm also a former academia. So I got that exceptionalism that be giving me anxiety. But one of the main things that I was getting, I had this dream, and my ancestor was just like, go on, girl, leave him. Go on, girl, leave them. Like your auntie telling you, like, you know what you need to do. You know what you need to do. And when we talk about survivor is very, 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 very much so a word that is, it's a strong word because we transitioned. We used to call folks, or people still call folks, victims. But when I was an advocate, we changed the word to survivor. But now survivor is not my word of choice anymore for overcoming an obstacle such as violence in that way. I think that survivor states that you barely making it, like you just got by. And I think that anytime you are overcoming any kind of abuse or any kind of violence, you more than a survivor. You are a warrior. You're a warrior to pick yourself up. You're a warrior in everything that you do. And you also have to call into those spirits of our ancestors who was a no nonsense, no fuck around person. And I'm going to mention my no fuck around ancestors. So then that way you can understand the person that I become today, but also you can understand why this is so important to me to share this information for you. And when Manbo Colette was talking about we're doing the work that God has already called us to do, or that our ancestors already called us to do, I believe that 100%. I absolutely positively believe that. And we're going to go ahead and get started. This presentation will be available at the end. We're going to be putting it on Vimeo or a streaming platform, so that way folks can get access to it whenever you need it. This is a learning tool. And it will be available for future glitches that come in and get money from the glitch fund, because we don't just want to give you money, we want to give you resources and tools to figure out how to get back on your feet. So with that being said, I'm gonna go to the next slide. Ooh, about she. That's me, y'all. I actually did this photo shoot, not that it matters, but I do a lot of creative directing and design. And this was the first time that I did everything for myself. I did my styling, pick my photographer, all of those things. It was a proud moment, and I think it encapsulates who I am. And I think that we have to reclaim our power in little ways. And if it's through being, you know, looking like this, or if it's through you fighting or learning self-defense or whatever the case may be, we have to put on our armor. And this is a representation of my armor and what I used to maneuver through the world. So I introduced myself, Lauren Michelle Harge. Yes, you see them commas behind my name. Yes, honey, got my master's degree when I was 24. I'm 28 now. I'm the founder and senior creative and educational consultant for Manifesto Consultancy. And we are an arts, education, and wellness consultancy that uses holistic practices such as healing, such as spirituality, to create new realities for Black communities. So my slogan is redefine, reimagine, and revolutionize, which you'll see down by my foot in that photo. Those are the things that it takes for Black communities to be able to redefine who we are and use the resources that we do have instead of focusing on the lack, and focusing on the things that we can conjure up in our own spirits and in our own abilities to be able to do those different things. I am I'm a former but forever foster youth. I'm about to start tearing up. And I've been in foster care since I was 6 years old. A lot of people don't know that about me, which is a reason why I'm an educator and I work with kids and work with homeless youth and do the work that I'm doing right now. Former but forever foster youth is a term that I coined in my research in exploring Black girls in their navigation to the school to prison pipeline. Former but forever states that although you may have exited the foster care system, your experiences have not exited. So your experiences of growing up in foster care, the abuse, the violence, the moving, the shape shifting, the forgetting about yourself to please other people, to, to having your worth being tied to a check. There's so many different things that go into that experience. And I wanted to, thoroughly express what that meant. And as a foster youth, growing up in different households and moving around, that's where I saw the most violence in people's homes that played the good family, the two-parent household, because my mom, because of the violence that went on in her household, she watched my grandma in a domestic abusive relationship. She started to use drugs when she was 16. So, that was the direct effect of how violence took place in our family. So I never saw a two-parent household. So what I wanted the most was a two-parent household. And then when I got there, it was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Y'all are over here cursing each other out. You're verbally abusive. You're controlling. You kind of hate women. And it was something that opened up my eyes to see different people in different ways. I put survivor and warrior woman because that's who I claim to be. That's who I am. I'm a survivor still because there are still places in me. There are still places in me that are healing. There are still violences that has happened to me that I haven't overcome yet, where I feel like I'm all the way warrior in that aspect. But then there are other places in my life where I feel like I got that, or I overcame that. But healing is it's secular. It's not just a destination. So I think that in talking about that, you'll find that out. And last but not least, I'm Yvette's daughter. Ashe, pouring a little libation for Yvette Johnson, who is my mom.
Ashe.
Yes, Shaker Ray. And I am Amelia Patterson's granddaughter, Ashe. Amelia Patterson was my fiery grandma who would cuss anybody out. I know y'all got that grandma. She will cuss you out. You'll be a no good nigga. Right now, she'll just tell you about yourself. And I never knew how to, I very much so have that energy, but I never knew how to regulate that energy. And I never appreciated it because it was usually used towards me. But now that she's an ancestor, those are some of the energies that I'm holding on to and using her power and her matter-of-factness to approach this world. And generational curse breaker. We talked about this beforehand about, violence being generational. Daisy was mentioning that today is the day for healing of 23 generations in the past and 23 generations in the future. And what we call that is, that's the study of epigenetics. So when you're in your mom, if I get pregnant today, don't say this on camera. Oh, stop it. But if I get pregnant today, I already have my granddaughter inside of me. My eggs are already rolling up with my grandkids. You know what I mean? And my granddaughter, and it's keeping that going. So some of the rules for today, grounding rules, there's not really, I'm not punitive, so I shouldn't even put rules, but grounding for today is speak with love, 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 love. And the reason why I say that is not that we have an intention to hurt other people, but I think a lot of times because of our trauma, because of the different abuses that we've gone through, sometimes it's hard to speak with love because maybe we don't know what that looks like. And the next one is make space, take space. And that's just about at the end we'll be sharing, and it's a few of you on here. so you can share your stories. But if you also let other folks that haven't spoken up get their turn, like I said before, open your heart. That just means come in and be ready to be courageous and be vulnerable. There will be some trigger warnings. Okay. If something I'm saying is bringing back some old memories for you, please do not sit there and force yourself to stay in a place where you feel like emotions are coming in. Do whatever your healthy coping mechanisms are. Take a walk, do a little dance, do whatever you need to do. If you need to cut the camera off and boohoo, do you. This is your safe space. So this is for you to be able to do these things. And then lastly, be audacious. Like I said, be courageous. Have the audacity to speak up and tell your story, because your story is your story. And if you don't tell your story, somebody else gonna tell your story. And we don't want that to happen. So these are the concepts that we're gonna get into today. Very small concept, but Manbo talked about toxic patriarchy that has been affecting us. And I wanted to put a name on that for Black women. That's what we call misogynoir. And misogynoir is just the hatred and sexism of Black women. And that's what we know what misogyny is, right? That's just the general one. But misogynoir was made specifically, it was coined by a queer woman, and it was made specifically for Black women's experiences so we can know how to talk about it. Black women face a double consciousness. So like I said, I'm an academic, so Frederick Douglass wrote Souls of Black Folks. But what I wanted to express with that is Black women, we go through a lot of different things. We wear many hats, we're mothers, we're so many different identities, but when we are thinking about our experiences versus the white woman's experience, we do have to add and we do have to pinpoint that us being Black, it has a lot to do with how we're valued, how we're seen in society, and how we excuse violence against Black women because we're seen as certain things. And when you equate Black women as subordinate, a space of objectification occurs where violence permeates. So if I'm telling you that you're an object, or if I'm claiming ownership of you, or I'm telling you less than me, what do we do with something that we don't value? Throw it away, beat it up, kick it, don't treat it right. So these are some of the places where we're standing right now and that we're trying to move through. But what I've learned is in order to heal, it is good to be able to name what you are going through. So we're getting to what is domestic violence. Before I get started, I want to let you know that all of the references at the bottom I use purposefully. All of these references are of organizations that you can go and type in if you are in any situation, and they will provide support for you. They'll either have a hotline or they will have actual services, or they can, you could call the hotline and they can give you services in your area. And I wanted to provide that because we're here to heal. We're here for the coins, but we're also here for the other resources that are necessary for that. So domestic violence is also referred to as intimate partner violence or dating abuse or relationship abuse. All of those things are used interchangeably depending on who you're talking to. And that's just a pattern of behaviors used by one partner to maintain power and control. Power and control. We're going to talk about that. Power and control over another partner in an intimate relationship. When we talk about rape, when we talk about domestic violence or any other of the violences that we'll be talking about today, power and control is the main thing. Because when we talk about rape, they'll be like, you'll hear about, I'm using R. Kelly, but R. Kelly. R. Kelly didn't do that because R. Kelly is R. Kelly. He can get bitches if he want bitches. And this is what's on the internet. And this is the discourse of why he couldn't have abused people, because he already has power and women should just be flocking to him and open their shirt up because he's R. Kelly. But what people don't know is abusers get off on power, control, and manipulation. And that's the most important thing that we want to know. So domestic violence, it don't discriminate. So thinking that because you are of a certain class level, I'm rich and I'm upper class and I'm cultured and I used to think some of those things like, oh, I moved myself out of the hood, I'm not going to get no more violence no more. And that's not true. Sometimes it's not just you being in the hood or you being in a certain environment. Sometimes it's just about that person. And certain behaviors around domestic violence include physical harm, intimidation, manipulation, or control of a partner, like we're mentioning again, or forcing them to behave in ways they don't want to. And that goes to emotional abuse and financial control, which we'll be talking about. Because we're talking about domestic violence today, we can't just stop there, because Black women and trans and non-binary folks don't just stop at domestic violence. We need to prepare ourselves for learning what other kind of violences affect us. Some that we don't know are actually violences. I was reading and doing my research and I was like, wait, I was seeing some stuff and I was like, wait, that's abuse? Oh my God. Like, so, it is good to understand all of the different types of things that you can be going through. Next. So, continuing on domestic violence, 1.3 million women report experiencing domestic violence. That's a lot of women. One woman experiencing and reporting domestic violence is enough. And that's not the number of women that actually go through domestic violence. That's just the ones that go and report. And, in Black communities, we have I won't say interesting, a no relationship with the popo. So when you are going through these different kinds of things, it almost feels worse to have to go to the police and report. You almost want to protect your abuser sometimes because you're like, he is beating on me, but I don't want him to die, because Black men get killed by the police. But also you think about different layers that have to do with our race. And I wanted to put that up there because if you report or if you don't report, we still have to have plans. We still have to know what's up. And Black women are 2.5 times more likely to be murdered by men than white women. See, that's why we talked about the double consciousness, because there are layers. In the overwhelming majority of the cases, 92%, the person, they knew their victim. So we think when we're getting violated, it's going to come from a stranger. Or I used to, they used to have the idea of the rape van, and it would be a white van with a stranger offering candy. And that was like a far-fetched idea. But 92% of the folks knew their victim. That means they had some kind of association with them, most likely an intimate partner relationship. So 56% of these homicides were committed by a current or former intimate partner. Nearly all 92%, it's a struggle saying these words. Nearly all 92% of these killings were intraracial. So that means it happened within our community, which means that they were committed by a Black man against a Black woman. With statistics like these, the Black Women's Health Project determined that domestic violence is the #1 health issue facing Black women. #1. Not the gout, not heart disease, not diabetes like my grandma had. Domestic violence. That's a public health issue, and nobody is talking about it the way we need to. I'm feeling the sermon coming out. So like I was saying, we're going to be talking about some other violences as well. And I just created a list of things so that you all can know in depth about the different kinds of violences and what can be happening. So sexual violence can be forcing you to dress in a sexual way that you're uncomfortable with. insulting you in sexual ways or calling you explicit names that you don't feel comfortable with. It's one thing if you're into that and you're all subby and you want to be called those names, but it's a totally another thing when you are not consenting to that behavior. Forcing or manipulating and having sex or performing sexual acts when you're sick, when you're tired or injured, just the kind of idea that whenever I want it, I'm going to get it type of thing, choke you or restrain you without your consent, holding you down without your consent, hurting you with weapons or objects, involve other people in sexual activities against your will. So if a person is bringing their homie or whatever and they popped up on you with an extra person and you didn't consent to that, that ain't good. It's not just oh, he made a oopsie or they made a oopsie. Then no, that's violence, and you have the right to speak up about it. Ignore your feelings regarding sex, force you to watch or make pornography. If you do not want to record videos, please, please don't. Please don't, because we have a lot of these cases coming out with nudes being sent out, and that's a form of abuse. And we're seeing those cases being won every day because people are now recognizing that is violent and it's against people's will. So, and we'll be talking about digital abuse, which I didn't really know that much about until I started this research for this presentation. And lastly, intentionally giving you or attempt to give you a sexually transmitted infection. So if you are dealing with someone who maybe, and we are, sex positive over here. So if someone has herpes or if they have HIV and you know that there are certain practices and protocols for you to be doing when you are engaging in those relationships, you're supposed to be doing that safely, whatever that means for you based on that situation. So if that person knows they have something and they're trying to give it to you, yeah, okay, no, it's a no-go. And then the next, which Daisy mentioned when she was talking about her experiences with abuse, about being connected and, being so intertwined. And when you first find a person that you can buy something with or that you can rent an apartment with, sometimes it feels so good because you're like, oh, I'm doing this first step with they, we doing all of that. And then once it turns abusive, you realize that it, instead of it being something good and mutually beneficial for the two of you all, it becomes like it becomes abuse. It becomes controlling. That's the word I was looking for. So and financial abuse is something that I'm familiar with as well. Just seeing different women in my family being abused by different men in our older generational line and them staying because they don't have any careers. Their husband never let them work. Or they just wanted them to be a stay-at-home mom, and then they start abusing them, and then they just stay because they're like, well, I don't have no skills. I don't have nothing to do. He paid the bills to give. And then the person that is financially abusing you, sometimes they're going to be like this. This is what they'll say. Well, I give you a home. I feed you. I pay the bills. I do. So you should do these things. And usually these things means whatever they want you to do under the guise of abuse. So these are some of the things that we'll be talking about. So providing an allowance and closely monitoring how you spend and demanding receipts from purchases. No, you don't need to be looking at my Amazon order list. No, we out. No. But no, definitely talking about the allowances and controlling the money. So if they're saying like, oh, I saw you bought this today, what you buying that for? Depositing your paycheck into an account you can't access. Why are you depositing my money or our money into your account where I don't have any say so over it? It should be joint. Preventing you from viewing or access your bank accounts, preventing you from working, limiting your hours. This is what I mentioned that I've seen in my family. Maxing out your credit cards, giving you financial debt and all that other kind of stuff, because they know if they max out your credit cards when you're trying to leave them and trying to get an apartment and do all those different things that it takes to be out here navigating in life, that you're going to be messed up and not able to do these things. So living in your home, but for refusing to work or contribute, Mm-mm. I don't know how many of y'all have experienced that before, but I can't stand to see somebody in my house that is not contributing, but has so many demands about how our household should be run. Financial abuse, forcing you to provide them with tax returns and all this other kind of stuff. No, that's your stuff. Refusing to pay or to provide money for necessary expenses like food, clothing, transportation, or medical care. A lot of times, and we'll talk about this in physical violence, but a lot of times we're talking about clothing, medical care, we're talking about all those things. They'll be like, oh, well, you're going through this, I'm not going to pay for that. If you need a surgery, I'm not doing that. Oh, you need your thyroid medication, I'm not doing that. And those are the kind of small things that they do to stop you from even being a healthy individual. So there's a few more. Next is physical. Physical is the one that we most know or the most talked about when we're talking about DV or any other kind of violence. We automatically assume somebody's beating you up or somebody is controlling you, and that happens to a lot of folks. But that can't be the. If there's also other ways which we're exploring, but preventing you from contacting emergency services, like I said, refusing medical attention, harming your children or your pets, driving recklessly with you in the car, or you driving and then pulling on the steering wheel and saying like, I'll end it for both of us. And like those different kinds of things, trapping you in your home or preventing you from leaving. No, no, that's not it. There have been a lot of situations that I've seen where I've gone into houses of women who are in abusive relationships, and they'll have these deadbolts on the door, and they can't get access to those deadbolts or those locks or different things like that. Their abuser is the only one that has the key. Throw objects at you and prevent you from prescribed medications. We talked about the medical care and different stuff like that. And this is the one that I like to talk about the most, and the ones I wanted to put the most power, the most bullet points for, and go really in depth with this, because emotional abuse and verbal abuse is often seen as normal. It's normal that he curses me out. It's normal that he insults me, and it's normal that he's jealous. Actually, that's kind of cute when it first starts until it escalates. Monitoring your activities without your knowledge, including demanding to know where you go, who you're contacting, all of that, and who you're spending your time with. I think there is a fine line between safety and concern. Like, please text me when you get there so I know that you're safe, and then you better tell me where you're at so I know where you at. Is it so you won't get beat up kind of thing, or you won't get whatever consequence they have for you. Because a lot of times if it's an emotional abuse, they have not put their hands on you yet. They may be planning on it, but they do other things that are still just as abusive or just as harmful. So attempting to control what you wear, your clothes, your makeup, that has always been a red flag for me. If you came to me as an attractive woman with my boobs out today for y'all, and and some eyeshadow or whatever, it is going to be a little bit hard for me to change who I am for you. So if you're getting angry because I'm wearing the clothes that I met you in, that's a red flag. And you need to explore what you need to do, because you're always going to have on clothes. You're always going to have certain things. So if they're triggered by the clothes you wear, you can't change your body. You can't change the way, then that's always going to breed some problems and some conflict. So humiliating you in front of others, gaslighting. This is the new hot button term out right now. But also gaslighting is something that is the most important to me, because it's talking about pretending not to understand what they're doing, questioning your recollection or your facts or events or sources, trivializing your needs or your feelings, and denying previous statements and promises. Honey, when I have been in so many spaces where my abuser has done something to me, and I'm like, did he say something a little off to me? And then I speak up about it, or we say something about it, and they're like, you crazy. You just saying that because this and that. Like, and they automatically try to negate how you feel and negate your experiences so that their experience can be the only one that holds truth. You could never be telling the truth. Your feelings can never be valid enough to an abusive, emotionally abusive person. Threatening you and your children, damaging your belongings, accusing you of cheating, or cheating themselves and blaming you for their actions. If you was around more, I wouldn't have to go and no. I know y'all have heard all of this before. That's why I'm playing it like a broken record, because it is a broken record. You cannot blame me for your behaviors, period. You cannot blame me for the abuse that you do. You cannot blame me for you cheating. You cannot blame me for any of that. That is not, those burdens don't belong to me. I am responsible for me. And usually if someone tells you you're cheating, they're cheating. That's just what I found out from my little dating life. I don't know much, but I know a little, enough to be hosting the workshop. And telling you that you're lucky to be with them, that is a joke. And I wanted to talk a little bit about sexual coercion as well. So implying that you owe them something. And then there's a difference between sexual coercion and sexual violence that we mentioned above. And that's why I wanted to differentiate the two for you. So telling you owe them something sexually in exchange for gifts. Like, oh yeah, I bought you that new car, so you got to give me some of that. Or I bought you this, and so you're going to do this. Giving you drugs or alcohol to loosen up your inhibitions. So if they know that you have certain boundaries and they know that after 2 drinks, you're going to get a little loosey-goosey, that's coercion. That's not okay. And it's not, and we're not talking about doing this as like a person who knows you and it's like, oh yeah, she just needs a little drink, like Miguel's song, how many drinks does it take you to leave with me? We're not talking about that. We're literally talking about you drugging me up to take advantage of me and get what you want because you know my guards will be down. So using your relationship status as leverage. Oh my gosh. So if you was my girlfriend, you would do this. You got to prove your love or they're going to be threatening to cheat or leave again. So when someone keeps threatening to leave or, remove their presence, that is very, very harmful. And it should be something to think about and ponder because why you got to leave? Because I'm not giving you what you want. I'm not an object. I'm not a candy dispenser. I'm not a 7-Eleven. You don't just come up inside of me and get what you want whenever you want to 24/7. And then reacting to sadness and anger and resentment if you don't immediately agree to sex with them or making you kind of feel guilty for not having it. And then talking about they need it and continuing to pressure you or intimidate you into fear. So this is the other type of abuse that I was talking about, digital and spiritual. And Daisy will be giving a class on spiritual abuse and how to maneuver through that. So I'm just going to give you the definition, but the digital one is, the digital abuse is something that I said is new to me, but it's something that I did want to talk about because we are in a time and space where we're using Instagram, we're using Facebook, we're using all these different kinds of apps. And now the old school kind of ways of abuse no longer necessarily apply. Now we have to think about how our abusers are manipulating us via the internet or digitally. So you never have to share your passwords with anyone. So if they're like, oh, we want the password to your phone. Nah, not unless you want to give it to them. These are all your choices. So if these are things that you want to do, first ask yourself why you want to do them. And I think that you can have a conversation and get the answers of why you're doing those things. Maybe insecurity, and maybe like, oh, well, I want them to know everything about me. Or some people give their partners their passcode because it's a trust. Like my sister and her fiance, they go have each other's passcodes because it's like, oh, my phone's ringing, or oh, can you get that text for me? Those kind of things. So it is, there's a difference, but I think that you all will know the difference. And the difference between the two is your choice and your consent. And that's the way that I'll put that. So sexting can have legal consequences, which what we talked about. Sending nude photos, I don't shame anyone who sends nudes. I love a good nude. If I think nudes are a work of art, I have a little nude gallery that I keep to myself. I don't share. Um, but these different things are going on right now. Like, for instance, Black China, she was dating someone and they posted their sex video on the internet. And she got a settlement from that and she won a lawsuit because that should not be distributed and without your consent. She can distribute whatever she wants. She could twerk all she wants to because that's hers to do what she wants with it. So you have to really know what's going on. And it's okay to say, like, no, I don't want you sharing this. Please don't share this. And it's actually pretty good to say that while you are in like a sexting relationship. So that way, when something or if something goes down, you can have the text transcripts that you did not give consent to that. Because a lot of times it's a gray area, like, oh, we were in the moment, and but then they use it on the back end to use it as abuse. So you have to keep in mind of those things. It's okay to turn off your phone and not respond to messages right away. Like if a person is texting you, like I texted you 39 seconds ago, why you ain't answer my text? Mm-mm, 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 mm-mm. No, that's not good. You respond when you need to respond or when you can respond. Um, Another good way of documenting different things, save the messages, the text, the different things like that, so you can have that evidence, which I talked about before. Don't answer calls from unknown or blocked numbers. A lot of times abusers know who you are, they know your number, and they are like, okay, well, if she won't answer me, or if I have a restraining order and I can't contact her, or if it's not even to the place of a restraining order, they know to try to call you on another line and different things like that. Find out about your phone company, and your phone company allows you to block numbers. Once you share a post or message, is no longer under your control. Abusive partners may save or move forward and share anything. Know and understand your privacy settings. So if you are being abused or in an abusive relationship, and you are around your friends and your friends, it's normal for you and your friends to go out and be like, oh, I'm with Lauryn Hill. I'm at the Jill Scott concert at the Hollywood Bowl or whatever. Talking about all the things that I be doing. But it's okay. It's normal. It's kind of second nature now in these times for us to post our geotags with our friends. If you're going through an abusive relationship, ask your collective to please empower you, to please help to create a safe space for you to be able to not show your abusers where you are. Not maybe they haven't seen you in a month or two, and then they see your best friend who they've been following on Instagram post that you're here. That makes you a target, and it opens up for a lot of different things. And then lastly, but not leastly, spiritual abuse, which is controlling and limiting your spiritual practices because of their own beliefs or your disbeliefs. So if we're all hoodoo people here. So if they're like, I'm a Christian and you're not gonna practice that witchcraft, and because it's against the Lord, because da 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 da, that that's not okay, to say the least. Or if they're not a Christian and they just don't have any beliefs, it's still not okay to control what you can do. And usually they're trying to control what you can do because they know you can power up on that ass, especially with hoodoo, and which we're going to be teaching you in a little bit. And then ways to identify that you're in an abusive relationship. They tell you that you don't do anything right. Jealousy, like we mentioned before, discouraging you to hang out with family and friends, insulting you, demeaning you. When we're talking about discouraging you from spending time with your friends, that's one of the main ones, and that is a progression of violence, because a lot of times it starts with you know, emotional abuse or verbal abuse. But then when they start saying like, no, I don't want you to hang out with Daisy because I don't like the way she influences you. She's a bad influence. I don't like the way she wears her clothes, and I don't think, and where she goes, I don't think you should be hanging out with her. That is the first form of isolation and separation from your family. That's going to lead to some more physical abuse. And that separation and that isolation goes into, it can look like you living in the city and then him telling you he wants to buy you a new house, and then it's 4 hours away from anybody that you know, or any of those things like that, out and without your consent. You may want to move out the way and start your home and start your family like that. But these, remember, these are things that are intentionally done to have power over you and control you and manipulate you. So from preventing you from making your own work or attending school or controlling your finances, we talked about a lot of those things. So pressuring you to use drugs and alcohol, especially if you're a person who struggles with substance abuse. It runs in my family, and I also have to be mindful about the way I create behaviors with drugs and alcohol because it runs in my genes. Him forcing you to be doing those things, insulting your parenting, threatening, different things like that, intimidating you with guns, weapons, or any of those things. We have to know that these things are not okay. And we're like, oh, this is so self-explanatory. I would never let nobody do this to me. But we don't, it's not that we let them do it. These things happen because of the power and control and manipulation in these relationships. So when you think that it can't happen and you are creating a blind side of things that can happen. So next we'll be talking about a little bit more financial control. Some of the same things. We don't have to continue to talk about that because I think you all got the picture. But now we're gonna open up for our warrior women testimonies. And this is where I really, really, really want to hear from you all. These are a few questions that I created to facilitate the conversation, but you can say whatever you want based on hearing the presentation and based on your own experiences. This is a moment for you to speak your truth, to, you know, turn your pain into power. This is your healing moment. So I'm gonna stop talking because I know you're like, she's rambling. Shut this girl up. But no, I really want you all to step up and really use this as a space for you to share. We're going to transition. I think Ahmses got everything's good to go, so we will transition to Ahmses, and then we'll be doing the panel. And the panel will be of healers and clinicians, but it'll also be another time for warrior testimonies to be shared as well. So we still have that time, and then we're gonna end with the after party with DJ Funké. She's opening me up to funk. So yes, Ahmses, are you ready?
Yes, all good right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. You got the video, you got the audio. All good? Right on, peace.
We're good.
So, all right. So I'm Dr. Ahmses Maat, and thank you. I feel that very honored because out of all the great sisters, I'm honored to be one of the brothers that y'all invited. And it's a privilege. And let's get right to it. Okay, so we're going to talk about and demonstrate some moves on improvised weapons. And I have a couple assistants with me. To my left is Virgil. Virgil, if you step forward and let them see you and give a brief introduction and what you do and who you are.
Hello, everybody. My name is Virgil Apostle. I'm with I'm with Kailukuan combat and healing traditions, specializing in the martial and healing arts of the northern Philippines.
And show them the book real quick that you got. He's also been on Deepak Chopra, and he's internationally known and whatnot and so forth. You know how we roll. All right. So I'm bringing to you the best of what we have here, right? So, and we have some other things that we can offer, okay? And to my right is Alex. Alex, you can step up and introduce yourself.
Hello, good night, everybody. My name is Alex, and I'm here to share that the Temazcali, it's an ancient place to prayer, to heal spiritually, physically, mentally, and also I'm sharing this time with the Ahmses, and thanks everybody for this.
So here we have, at mobile healing industries.com, where my wife has, we have a compound, 4.3 acres, and we have a natural healing well, spa, massages, hypnotherapy, natural healing. Alex is from the Yucatan that has connected with the pyramids and the Olmecs and all that. So, sometimes our phenome, I'm kind of like red bone, but even so, some other folks may not look African, but they got African in them, right? That culture preserves all the way through it. And so we're doing that through, Montu's University of African Defense, right on? Okay, so we're going to go into this real quick on what it takes here and some of the things we have to move forward so they can see a little bit better. So I'm going to move over just a little bit. So Virgil, if you can step up a little bit here and just stand here and spread out again. And what I'm going to show is the X and the plus and how you look at the vital signs. Move over. So in this angle, what I'm going to be doing is striking in an X fashion, okay, and a plus fashion. So whenever I strike, I'm striking in an X fashion here or in a plus fashion, okay? And whenever I do this, this exposes the center line. Everything in the center line, you have the nose to the genitalia. Everything you hit up in this area would be a place to injure somebody, okay? Now, what we're going to be focusing in on is, since you don't have muscles like a regular man do, so you don't want to punch somebody, because if I would hit Virgil in his head, I might hurt my hand if I have a weaker hand, all right? So whenever you strike someone, don't be fist fighting. You're not going to fight at all whenever you're doing domestic violence, self-preservation. You have to have the mindset and ready in a spiritual aptitude to take somebody out, period, right? So that whenever you strike somebody, you're not going to strike them with your hand. You're going to strike them with elbows, right? You're going to be striking with elbows. You're going to do things to damage and take them out. Now, where do normal predators attack a prey? If you have a lion attacking a gazelle, where do they normally attack? And if you said the neck, then you're right. So if I were to elbow him in the head and lift his chin up, now I have exposed his neck, all right? And whenever we do these things, you have each side of the neck where the carotid arteries. The veins are okay to lacerate, but veins bleed slowly. You want to go deep enough to hit the artery. That's when you get the spurting of blood coming out, right? And you say, oh, I don't want to hurt nobody that I just been kissing 2 months ago, or it's my uncle, or it's my daddy, or if it's someone that I just met and I don't want to hurt them because I don't want to hurt nobody. If he's a predator and abusing me, and I have a child, a niece, an aunt, or a nephew, he's a predator. He don't give a damn about anything else about getting his jollies on. I'm just using Virgil as an example. This is not him. I'm just giving you an example. So that means that you have to make the world a better place. You have to make sure that you are the hero by doing these tactics. If you decide that enough is enough, and right now is the time, you must be fortified to take the person out, and it's not play, okay? So you have to be able to know that if you do take them out and you prevented them from getting into your little sister or your niece or your nephew or your friend, you have made the world a better place. And you should get accolades. You should get honorariums. You should be made a hero for doing that. And that's where you come in to being honored as that African warrior is, okay? You are actually making your small nation functional, okay? So as we do this, I'm going to be striking in this X fashion plus fashion that goes to the vital signs. Turn around. On the spine, you have the exact same thing. You have the back, you have the spine. On each side of the spine, you have the kidneys. You have the back of the neck and the sides of the neck on this, okay? So turn back around. I'm not sure how many people have taken biology, but if you had taken biology, one of the things that we did to frogs, that we did to keep them alive and do experiments and dissections on them, was called pithing them. And what we do, we go into the back of the neck and destroy the spinal cord, okay? And so when we do that, turn around, by destroying the spinal cord, you can stop the nerves from getting down to the rest of the body, paralyzing them, okay? And if you paralyze them so that they can't move their legs, that's one level. If you paralyze them where they can't use their legs and their arms, that's another level. The level that we want to take them out on is that, turn around, they can't even breathe no more. You snap their neck to the point where the nervous system doesn't even get to the diaphragm to breathe anymore. And again, I want you to understand that this is it right here. This is it. This is the time you have to take them out. Okay. All right. So now that's the understanding, that the mentality I want you to have as a fortitude deep down inside of yourself. Okay. And at the level that you're at, especially as blitches, as warrior spiritualists, it doesn't matter if he grabbed me for a second, just grab my arm. It doesn't matter if he's drunk, he's on drugs, and pull my arm around. And he's doing all this. It doesn't matter, because my arm is just part of my spirit, of my flesh. I don't care if he breaks my arm. I'm still going to go for what I have to do to destroy him. I have to go up in here, rip, bite, stomp, do everything I can to take him out, okay? Because your spirit is the thing that's fighting. It's no longer, you're right, no mercy. It is no longer just you're doing, oh, I got strength, and I try to hit him, grab an arm, right? And I can't do nothing, and I can't do it. No. That's when you have submitted. During this time, you stop submission, and you are not really just dominating, but you're taking your just stance on a platform of Maat, of truth, that you belong here. And this is your right. Okay? So that's the premise. Now we get on to some techniques. All right? Okay. All right. You stay here. I think we have a better position here. So what I'm going to do now is get a blade. All right? Then I'm going to substitute the various things that can be used as a blade and how we can work on these things. Okay? Right. Blade. Real blade. Okay? For practice, I'm going to fold the blade. But the same concept, if I were to cut, turn to this 45-degree angle just for a second. Step back just a little bit. If I were to cut, I would cut in this fashion as an X. Step over this way for a second. Right. Turn a little bit toward me, stay there. I would cut in this fashion as here. So I want everybody to stand up right now. Stand up, get up, stand up. stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up. Don't, let's go. You know it. Don't forget to fight. So here, you're going to slash on an angle, cutting. That's the cutting, slashing, okay? Slashing, and then horizontal, okay? Horizontal. And you notice whenever I'm doing it, I'm moving my hip like that. I'm not just doing arms. I'm putting my whole sinew, my whole body, my whole soul, and to make sure I slash deep into that, all right? And then the stab is the fifth one, boom. Okay, so now I'm going to fold the blade because I'm getting too close for Virgil. I can see the sweat dripping off of his face right there. And so we can do this safely now. So you can use this, and as you practice, you want to practice in front of a mirror. If you want to take an X and a plus on the mirror, step out for a second, and you can see what I have on the mat there. That is then the X and a plus and the square. All right, and as you want to understand that, on this square, if I were to pull this up, you can see a pyramid, because a pyramid is a square at the bottom and a triangle on the four sides. So we're using ancient African basics for our combat, all right? So right now, what I'm going to do is show some things for a defense right now. Okay, step up a little bit. So let's back up a little bit. So if I was just coming to strike, what he's going to do is grab my hand, because sometimes you may not just get a cut in there. They may actually grab your hand. How do you get out of that? He's going to grab my hand, right? Grab it for one hand right now and step over to the camera. As you notice, on the hand, you have 4 fingers and 1 thumb. Which way would I twirl my hand to escape this grab? And if you said toward the thumb, you're absolutely right. So grab tight, and all I have to do is turn toward the thumb. If you have someone else in the room with you, you can practice them holding your wrist with, and as you do that, all you do is just turn toward the thumb. The easy way to do this, I'll just put my thumb toward my hip, and it naturally comes out. Grab my wrist this way, the other way, right? The other way is the wrist coming up this way. If I went to go stab him here, and he grabbed that way, another way of getting out of that is still going toward the thumb. What I'm going to do is bring my hand up to my ear. Okay, and it is just that simple. It does not take strength to do this. Why? Because we're using physics. And if I wanted to come here and he grabbed my hand, I still have this hand available. So this hand can smack him in his eyes, whatever, and then come out here and then stab him in the throat. Stab him in the throat. That's the area that we want to go to. You stab him in the heart, he may still have some energy, maybe 3 seconds. You stab him in his throat, you know what he's going to try to do? Let's grab his throat. You know what you do again? Stab him on the other side. Now he's going to try to grab the other side. Okay, he's going to grab, right? And then if you want to do something, you can stab him in the heart. All right? And you know how fast that will take? He grabs, boom, boom, boom. Just that fast. It shouldn't take where you're tussling, rolling on the grass or the ground, trying to, hey, screaming and everything like that. We'll get to that in just a moment, okay? So again, if he grabs one hand, you turn toward the thumb. If he grabs with 2 hands, it's still even the same thing, because now he can't even block this hand. So you can use this hand to strike toward the face. That will help distract him. You can put your elbow down. You see, all this is real simple. Strike, elbow down, pull back, stab. Okay? Strike, elbow down, stab. Okay? Then stab, 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 rip, you know, whatever else you want to do. Because at this point in time, you're feeling legally that he's going to be doing deadly force on you. And since you're a female, the law is going to say you're allowed to use an equalizer, okay? That equalizer can be anything within arm's reach that you can grab, including a blade that you have clipped to you or any other improvised weapons that I'm about to show you in a bit. So as you use this, you did self-preservation for self-defense, and you will get off, okay? He was attempting to murder you or do rape or any other assault, okay? Bring me over the, bring me over the scissors. Right here. Yeah, scissors, okay? So anything else that's around you, scissors will work, okay? If I was coming here, of course, I'm gonna not do this right now with the pointed part. I'm gonna do it protected if you're working with a partner. As I come down, grab two hands, right? Then if I'm struggling like this, he's going to, you know, call me all kind of out of my names and this what and other stuff. And then, you know, attempt to make me release the weapon and then do what his biddings are, okay? So as I come here, right, you still have this hand, you go to the eyes, you do the exact same thing. You bring the elbow and you go toward the thumbs. Come over this way for a second. You go toward the thumbs. Bring it up a little bit higher. You go toward the thumbs. You can see how, sorry, grab again. You can see how this is actually coming apart as I go slow. And naturally, as I would do this, I would come right back up to the throat, to the throat, to the throat. Whenever you're using weapons in your training though, and you're using scissors or any type of other sharp objects, and you're using this part to protect your opponent, make sure that this part that's pointed toward me, you don't fall on, you don't hurt yourself in doing this. You want to make sure you do this safely, okay? All right, bring me the, well, no, I have some other stuff over there. One second. Let's see. What I want to do is use this. You had it already. You had it already. Alex had it already. I should have just listened. All right. So what we have here is an improvised weapon. Actually, let me get that spark there. So you've seen everybody walk around with scarves like this, right? Because why? COVID is out here. And by the way, I've been dealing with COVID, doing open heart surgery, ECMO, and intensive care since the inception of this. I do have some things that will help prevent COVID. It's not a curative, it's a preventative that we have when we go into the test to Mescali and we're in a close environment. Everybody here has a lozenger that sanitizes their mouth and nose. So anyone that even sneezed on you that had COVID, you can be contaminated, but it doesn't infect you because your mouth and nose are sanitized, okay? So we're safe here. All right, so going back to this, you see how I use the mask normally, okay? And with that, what I would do is pull the mask off because I'm able to quickly take it off. Now, what I have is on this, I have a ring and a paper clip. All right. So wait, what? Paper clip. I put the paper clip just a little bit on here. You can see I'm gonna use a piece of cardboard. You can see what it's doing to the cardboard. How it's just ripping the cardboard. Now imagine if that is the skin. All right, you can see how I'm doing that. And that's just, I'm able to use this paper clip as a scalpel, right? So in that, I've taken this through airports, everything. So the same method that you can use with a blade and a pair of scissors, you have with your mask, walking around 100% compliant with whatever you're doing, but you are armed with knowledge to be able to use this toward the carotid and lacerate it just like I did on this cardboard. Okay? All right, now, in addition to that, what we're going to use this for is a tool that we can use as an improvised weapon as well. So, Virgil, just put your arm out for a second. All right. So what I'm going to do is use this. You see how that jerked to his arm? Put your other arm out for a second. I can jerk. You see how I worked it over there? So basically, what I'm doing is being able to use this as a tool to move things. So you will be able to get all this. I'm sure you guys will be able to record all this and have this and study for this over and over again. And we'll have seminars out here that people can attend to as well. So in this, what we'll have is if he were to throw a punch at me, I can throw it over like so. Now I have this here. I want to use this against his shoulder, but you can imagine what this could be if I did it on his neck. Okay. You can see that there. All right. Come here for a second, Alex. All right. Alex is going to throw a punch at me. Okay. And you can see I'm going to use this on his shoulder. If I use this on his throat, step over a little bit, I'm going to do it easy. Okay. So if I did this, come in a little bit closer. He throws a punch. I'm throwing it this way for a second. If you notice, my elbow is his closest weapon here. So I would just basically elbow, bring his arm down for a second. If I did that, my elbows, I just bring the elbow to him. And then use this. And this is coming against his windpipe now. Okay, you can see how that would be. All right. So in addition to that, if I did this in a choking manner, so Alex is going to throw a punch at me, throw a punch, boom. And I just went straight for his throat. Here, grabbed here. You can imagine, step over a little bit, how I did this. And now as I bring him down, I'm choking him. Sorry. All right, I'm choking him. All right, as I choke him, I'm not just going to choke him to choke him. I'm going to choke him to death. Right? This person has abused you. Who else has he abused before? If you don't do it, who else is he going to abuse again? Choke him to death. You will be judged being correct. It's not being sinless, okay? It is being judged on a scale of Maat, being correct. You're going to do things that are incorrect. You're going to do things that are incorrect. All you have to do is make that scale slightly balanced, right, to the feather Maat. That's what our ancestors laid down. That's where all the religions came through. And that's what you're going to do. Killing is justified. Murder is not. So you do this and it's justified killing. Justice is Ma'at. Okay, truth, justice, righteousness, reciprocity. You're doing this in a justified manner. So you do it. If not, you're breaching that. You're allowing an evil to continue. Okay, next one is the improvised weapons. You see this yellow tape. Bring out the yellow tape, right? So as Virgil goes to throw a punch at me, right? I can do the exact same thing that I did with the cloth, right? And come back here, taking him down and strangle him with the paper. Give me the plastic bag. Plastic bag? Yeah. Yeah. Stand here. More. Same thing. You got these blowing in the wind everywhere. The blood, the air that's blowing to Southern California, right? They're everywhere. Garbage cans, you can find this everywhere. Simple shopping plastic bag. Same thing. You throw a punch, boom. Here, pow, right? Choke it. Boom. Okay, you choke them. This is an angle. Now, pen for a second. All right. If you have a pen, a regular writing pen, you can do the same thing. Virgil, if I was coming here and he catches my arm, I would do the exact same thing. I could punch, break loose, and go for the throat, right? If I have it concealed inside of my plastic bag, and all you're doing is coming from the store to your car, or you have it beside your bedside because you went shopping, but you have something ready for them. So as they try to do something, put your arm around me, like you're trying to, yeah. All you have to do is stomp and then go straight for the throat. Straight for the throat, okay? And you dig down deep. If you have to go down there and to the point, step over for a second. After I take them down and you fall on them and you just drive that bad boy all the way through the bed, all the way through the couch. You want to penetrate that all the way through. So you see that blood gassing out. All right, next I need the scissors. Scissors. Now what I've done is this is just a business card for paper for training, okay? And what I've done is basically cut the business card so it has a little piece here. And I'm going to do the exact same thing. This is a player's card that you get from the casino. Yeah, I'm not a casino man. Akua Maat is a casino lady. I just go there to keep her company, right? I don't like cigarette smoke. Maybe smoke, but some of these places got, they're non-smoking casinos. So I can go there and watch her gamble. If she makes money, I get to eat for free. So anyway, what you're going to do, you're going to get a scissors and you're going to cut, right? An angle on that, just like that. Boom. So now as you fold it, you can see that this here is like the blade, okay? You can see that this here is like the blade. And then as you put this in your hand, just like the paper clip, all you need is that little piece right there. All you need is this little piece right here. Now you have a blade on both sides of your hand, right? So if grab my arm here, Alex, and so if they were to grab here, two people, sometimes, let go for a second, sometimes whenever they connive, let me pause for a second. I was not always the nice guy. Whenever I was in a club back in the day, I would be scoping and find out which one comes in is prey. And then I would make sure I buy her the drink, do the dance, get her to laugh, see if I can take her home, do whatever she would allow me to do. I wasn't crazy. I wouldn't rape nobody, but she allowed me to do things. But the concept that I'm making is sometimes deviant people have a partner and both of them will try to get you. And you didn't submit to that. That wasn't what you came there for. You came there to have some fun. And many times, unfortunately, some crazy friends that you thought were your friends ain't really your friends. And be a part of setting you up with something in your drink and all that, okay? So anyway, if two people were on you, right? Two hands, right? And I have this blade in my hand. I want to get my blade hand free, all right? So what I want to do is move toward freeing this hand first, okay? And if they want to take me out, that's fine. They're going to use whatever force, but I want to use this. Now, what he has, again, I have to have a training on this. You have to come and sometimes feel this during the class, but you can kick, right? And then move this tighter, right? Move this here up. Now, stop here, moving closer to the camera. Moving closer to the camera. Grab again. If I come here, if I kicked and came here, I want you to pause for a second and just turn your wrist over a second. I want you to feel, if this was a deep struck blade and I'm cutting here, what artery am I cutting? I'm cutting the radial artery. And I would go into this deep as I possibly can. So that blood is, people that commit suicide, they lacerate the wrists. This is what I'm lacerating. I'm cutting that there. Once that's cut, his grip weakened. I want to go up toward his brachial artery. Turn your artery this way. This is the area of the brachial artery. Okay. And as I do that, I can slide up. His grip will weaken. I'll slide up to the throat. If he has to do self-preservation on himself, he's have to apply pressure. First of all, he will apply pressure on his wrist. He will have to then bend his arm to stop the brachial from bleeding. But what about his throat bleeding? So now he has to put pressure there. He can't do nothing with me now. And while I'm now let's back up again. Grab. Right? So if I kick, cut his wrist, cut his brachial, cut his throat. At this point in time, I'm now possessed. I have become segment. I've become Neath. I've become the homie warriorist, that my eyes have turned to a whole different color. My fortitude has changed. I am vengeance. How dare you? And all this is just blood, blood coming out. Okay? Until you become unpossessed with that. And if you feel that you need to save them at that point in time, you can call 911 if you wanna. All right? So I hope I'm not being too graphic or ghoulish at this point in time. Do I have any other things over there? Oh yeah, grab the belt and the shirt and the orange. Okay. So the other things are here, and I'm winding up, is everybody has a belt, and you can use the belt hooks as a weapon, keys as a weapon as well. And you can do grab, just grab, right? Grab like you're doing a bear hug, right? You can do this here, throwing them back, grabbing to the eye, bringing them down, and then dropping on top of them, kneeing them and choking them out. Okay, so all these things are tools. Lastly, is there may be an episode where you doubt yourself. You say, okay, I don't got this. But then you got to summon up enough strength, enough fortitude. You call upon your ancestors and you get the juice. We're going to show you this juice, right? So in this, I'll actually step on here a little bit so we can get the better angle. Because if I'm using, say all I have is the pen, and he grabs my hand, and he grabs it and to the point with both hands, and so tight that I have to drop the weapon. And he forces me down. And he forces me down. And he's going to make me submit to do whatever he wants me to do. And you start. And you start. And you start. And then you say, fuck this shit. Fuck this shit here. And you grab that. This is an orange. You grab that. And you squeeze that. And you see the juice coming out. You want to simulate the blood coming out of there. He's going to let go of you. He's going to stop because you have blood and juice coming out of here, right? You want to leave evidence, DNA, so that if you have to get them, you get them later on, right? You can persecute them, prosecute them. But if you have that and you have some other weapons, you continue on. All right? It may be hilarious, but sometimes it may be real. Right on? Okay. So with that, I'm calling it to a close. I'm Dr. Ahmses with Montez University of African Defense. You can go to the website, mobilenaturalhealingindustries.com, and come visit us. We have, actually this weekend, tomorrow we're going to be doing a Temescali. And so I'll start over here with Alex. If you can tell everybody who you are and what we're going to be doing with the Domestic Island.
Okay, we're gonna actually the temazcal is something to sweat are toxic. So also we make blades, so that way you can show learn to how to make blades too. So we're here for you, and thank you.
Okay, Virgil.
Okay, Virgil Apostol, Apostol. You can find me on Facebook, and with Kailuko Convent and Healing Arts. I specialize in the martial traditions of the Northern Philippines, but also the healing aspect. There's two sides of the coin. You learn how to destroy, but also to learn how to heal.
All right, so we're going to pause for a second, and we're opening for any questions. I know there was some comments up there. I know I'm a little bit a theatric, a thespian, an actor, or as we do this and all that, have fun. But I love to train. I love to make sure that we do, to make sure that we're on top of it. We're ready to answer any questions. If you have any questions, you can post them up in text and or verbal, or if we can get them to Sister and that we can bring them through or something like that. Okay. All right. So we'll pause for a second. Any questions coming through, we'll answer them, and then we'll take it to the next level. Hope to see you soon. Any questions?
We have time for one question. We have to honor folks' time. Some folks on the panel have to get some assignments done and have to leave. But if anyone has one question, we can sum it up really quickly, and then we'll transition to the panel. But thank you so much. Thank you. I feel like I learned so much. Anyone have a question?
I have a question. It's Shantae again. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Is there a possibility that you all could send out a little recap of what you all did today? Because I definitely need to go back and like beat my son up a little bit and practice the movie.
You will send
Well,
out.
I think Sister Daisy actually videotaped this, so this will be, I'm quite sure, available. And we'll be offering seminars out here in Palm Springs metro area. So, and I do have some. If you Google my name, Ahmses Maat, on YouTube, there's some videos out there already. So, yeah.
Thank you.
That we can do. Anything you want to add to it?
Questions?
No? Well, thank you very much. Have a great evening. I enjoyed ourselves. I think everyone's happy here. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I'm extremely happy. Thank you so much.
Study, and I believe from divinations and also what I feel that he's trying to or has tried to do things to me, to not lose me or to hold me. So I think everything everyone has said is so valid and resonates so deeply with me. But really it's the healing of the mind that I think for me has been the most difficult thing, and the thing that I'm currently trying to get, resources on and I guess just work through. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know why I even unmuted, but yeah, that for me, like the other forms of the abuse is what's kind of like been my chains I'm trying to break off right now. So yeah.
Well, don't negate yourself, because you said exactly what needed to be said. That's why we explored today the other forms of abuse, because we know that it's not just, like you said, it wasn't physical. So you were trying to figure out like, oh, is this really what I think it is? Or is it, so it's a very gray and cloudy area. But thank you for sharing that, because that's so important. And the most beautiful part about everything that you're saying is that you're now you have discernment now. You have a little bit more clarity to be able to now have a lens to engage on your life. Now you know what's going on, and now you can move in the way that you need to move with more knowledge and more information. And that's what it's about. It's not about being perfect or anything of that sort.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing.
Yes. I'm gonna mute back now and go back to my client.
Is there someone else, one more person who wants to share? We have 2 minutes. Or is y'all all crying like I am?
I just wanted to say that, like, also, like, I appreciate the commentary. I'm still driving, but I appreciate the commentary that I kind of glanced at if I wasn't driving. And I just want to say that also sometimes we have friends. It's not just romantic partnerships. We have friends that abuse us, and we don't need to gaslight ourselves about that either. Because it doesn't have to be a physical abuse. It could be that same, you know, hurt people, but we don't have to give our abusers an out, right? We don't always have to justify. We don't always have to be like, well, yeah, I really appreciate what Sean said. And also, we can hold that knowledge and still be like, nah, I'm not fucking with this person because their tendencies and their tactics with me have been abusive. Where have I seen this before? And maybe that's a small way to start, is to like take up arms with the people that we choose to have around us.
Chosen family is what I learned from foster care. Choosing people who bring love and light into your life versus folks that you allow to stay around and suck you like a parasite and suck your energy and your life force out of you. And one thing that I could say, speak to that is I'm just letting go of a friendship and I thought she was my best friend. We used to call each other soulmates. We were friends for 12 years, but our bond was just a trauma bond. And one day you wake up and you realize, I let go of these partners, but here you are still being emotionally manipulative, or you being emotionally cold and dead and having me hold all the emotions and curating all the healing in the friendship. You're not offering love, you're offering coldness. So I think that what you're saying is perfect. And I also think that this is the perfect space with all the folks that are on the call. This is your opportunity to see all the folks that are here and build community with them. We didn't just do this because we want to hang out with y'all. Yes, I did. But we really did this so you all can see each other and say, I have a support in this. We were on this call together. We did this retreat together. We cried together. That is what this is about. And the people that are healthy are the people that you should allow in your life to hold you accountable to certain things. So I thank you for sharing that. And we're going to close the panel and the testimonies. I want to introduce Daisy. Are you ready? My best friend. Someone who has actually taught me the friendship. I'm going to tell you something. She's taught me the kind of friendship that I deserve. She doesn't take more from me than she gives. I trust what she says to me. She don't speak to me like I'm somebody off the street. This is a person who has literally authentically showed me love over the whole friendship. And now the love that we've had in a platonic friendship has turned into fruitful business opportunities with one another. So do it. Choose it. And the AfroMystic is going to talk to you about spiritual abuse, and she will be talking to you about how to protect yourself from these things. And I am so excited. Okay. And I will transition over to Daisy, and I'm going to make her the host so she can share her screen.
All right, I think we transitioned over. Can you see me and hear me okay?
I believe so. Yes, I could hear you.
All right, everybody.
I think you have the spotlight. Oh, okay, perfect.
Thank you all for being here and saying everything you have said today. I've spent the last hour, 45 minutes hearing, receiving, processing, catching my breath. There are so many different times in this conversation, this conference, that I've had to catch my breath because I am processing all of our collective experiences together, feeling the tributaries and how they work themselves into my personal experience, speaking with the next generation. I have my niece here, who is my sister's daughter, who's a grown woman at this point, helping, having her, and processing what we went through together, our shared experiences. And there's just been so much uncovered. And, you know, I'm realizing that for whatever reason, there are so few spaces that we have to get together and talk like this. You know, it may happen in 2s and 3s every now and then, but the fact that there's 20 plus people on this conversation and we can all be as transparent as we are and so trusting of each other is a beautiful thing. And I'm allowing myself to catch my breath in this closed sacred circuit that we are participating in. So please forgive me if I keep taking those kind of breaths. Feel free to join me in that process. Please forgive me as I sip from I had to go get a drink real quick to help me in that process of processing. But again, thank everybody for being a part, for showing your face here. I am honored to be able to share with you some methods for safekeeping within the Hoodoo tradition. Now, I know earlier at the top of Laura Michelle Manifesto Consultancy's conversation, she mentioned spiritual abuse. I am not an expert on spiritual abuse, but one thing I have experienced is quite a bit of spiritual abuse as an open practitioner of an African spiritual science. Most of y'all on this call are practitioners of non-Judeo-Christian, non-Islamic, non-Hebraic religious traditions. And to a certain extent, you might have experienced that ostracization, that isolation, that demonization that comes from not having the spiritual practice that others have. And it can easily become, especially in an intimate partner situation, it can easily become a experience of abuse when someone does not allow you the space to have your own personal spiritual practice. So, you know, having to deal with it from the outside is one thing, but having to deal with it in your own home where you should have the safety and the reprieve in your practice, be in your safety and reprieve, not being able to grasp that, to own that in your own space is hard. So in terms of the class I'll be sharing tonight, the class will be, thank you for closing that. The class will be as easy, as simple as possible. It will give tools, methods, and directives for escaping, leaving, or essentially soothing the effects of the abuse that you are at hands of. Didi mentioned earlier, if you ain't ready to leave, you ain't ready to leave. And can't nobody tell you to leave till you're ready. I'm a witness to that. But while you're in the process, we're going to give you some tips and tricks for while you're in it. We're going to give you some tips and tricks for how to exit as safely as possible, and some tips and tricks for how to institute yourself and your power afterwards, how to rebuild your life, on your spiritual life, your energy body afterwards. So I hope this is helpful. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. All right, everybody. This is spiritual cleansing and protection for survivor warriors, methods within the Hoodoo tradition for safekeeping during tumultuous domestic times. Now, the sacred, beautiful thing about the tradition of hoodoo is that it is very much so a use what you have, use what you grow, use what you got tradition. And if you don't have something you should have, there is a substitution. So please, moving into this and receiving some of the medicines, the remedies, the ritual practices, remember, if you don't have what's listed, use the next best thing. Do your best to keep. You don't have to buy a bunch of shit. You don't have to pay for a bunch of things. There are some of you here who might not be able to get mail to your home because of the abusive situation that you're experiencing. So you won't be able to order this and that from this place or that botanica. So please, I tried to do my best to keep it as simple as possible. In your mind, if you're going to use some of these methods to share to other people, keep it simple. We don't need too much, okay? Just introducing myself again. I am Daisy, also known as Nganga Makosi Chimarenga Chanjuzu, and the AfroMystic by the community that I serve. I am an initiated hoodoo priestess, a practitioner, and a survivor warrior of domestic partner violence. I too am a generational curse breaker. Okay, like Manifesto, Lauren Michelle said at the top of the hour, we are not allowing this to continue into the future. The work that we're doing now is healing the past and healing the future. And I look, I put this on everything that has ever existed. This is not going to happen to any of my descendants. And if it does, we're handling it just like Ahmses said, from jump. Okay? I am in the space of mind and body where we are taking out abusers by the neck, by the throat, in that X and that T shape, period. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about today are some methods for dealing with domestic violence spiritually while you're in it, while you're moving through it, and while you're on the other side of it. All right, y'all give me a thumbs up if you can see me and hear me and all that good stuff. All right, good. Okay. Now, regardless of whether or not you're in it, out of it, moving through it, ancestral communion is going to be your secret weapon. Ancestral communion is the foundation of cultivating power in the hoodoo tradition. It is the first step that brings you from spiritual powerlessness to spiritual power. Deciding that you are going to dedicate yourself to having a mutual reciprocal relationship with the spirits of the people who came before you, who have a vested interest in watching you, protecting you, cultivating you, and making sure the lineage that comes from you is more stellar than it was when they were here. Those people, connecting to them, learning how to establish relationships with them, learning how to communicate with them, allowing them to be your guides on the other side, with the level of wisdom that only someone who is on the other side can give you. Non-human wisdom. It is a secret weapon, a superpower, and I'm sure all practitioners of African spiritual science can agree to this. Like Ahmses said, yeah, I'm here to a certain point, but when I get you here, I'm possessed. When I get here, I'm possessed. There is an ancestor who has received permission because of who I am and how I've built a relationship with that ancestor, who has received permission to come here and add on some extra superhuman powers to what I am doing now. That happens all the time. That's a foundational understanding of African spiritual practice. So developing an ancestor communication relationship is only going to benefit you regardless of where you are in this process. Within the hoodoo tradition, ancestors are your first line of defense after your own self. There are warriors and powerful protectors in your lineage waiting to offer you assistance. Some of you in this room have ancestry that goes back to Benin, where the Dahomey Mino warriors are. Some of those were your great-great-great-great-grandmothers. Knowing that, playing with that in the mind, identifying that in your bloodline is going to do a lot to give you the power that you need when you're in a situation where you need to call upon it and use it. They are waiting for you to give them permission to offer assistance. And regardless of your tradition or level of knowledge, they can help with situations that feel out of your hands. It's above me now. Those situations where we're like, I can't even do it. Can't even do it. It's the 20th time he done came at me this way today. I can't fight it anymore. I'm giving it to the ancestors. You know, a lot of us say, well, give it to God, right? That's fine. But your ancestors is the next spiritual community outside of yourself. So when you toss it to the ancestors, they're going to catch it quick. You ain't got to wait for that Judeo-Christian idea of may not come when you want it, but it'll be there right on time. Sometimes they come when you want them, right? So giving that type of access to your ancestors will help them to show up for you. Remember that abusers thrive off of isolating you or instilling the idea of loneliness in you. I don't like your friends. You can't hang out with them anymore. Your best friend, you didn't know your best friend was a hoe? You over here trying to be out there with the hoes, huh? Right? They'll do that to you. They isolate you, make you feel like they are the only one that can provide you with comfort and companionship. When you have an active ancestral communion practice, isolation is impossible. It is very hard to feel lonely when you know you have the protection and the presence of 64,000 or more spirits that are with you no matter where you are in the world, no matter what time of day. When you sensitize yourself to that relationship, it is very difficult to feel alone. Sometimes you got to instill boundaries with them because they always around. So it's very, very hard for you to be isolated from wisdom, isolated from power when you have an ancestor connection. Does that make sense? All right. Also, ancestral communion can and does happen everywhere at any time with or without tools. So you don't need anything special except a generous, sincere heart, a mouth, a mind, a spirit to connect with them. So it is a secret weapon. It never needs to be seen. And it can happen covertly. Nobody needs to know what you're doing in order for you to do it. That's how your ancestors, many of our ancestors were able to survive and thrive throughout the various laws and religious abuses that they went through to disconnect them from their African spiritual traditions. All right, and so just a note on dedicating yourself to your dead. As it pertains to hoodoo, like I said, ancestor veneration is incredibly important. And one of the first, it's almost in a, your ancestors initiate you into the tradition or pre-initiate you into the tradition in a sense. So of course, you're going to want to dedicate yourself to your dead so that they can have communication and connection with you always. Do these 3 things that don't cost you anything, and you will successfully build a full, fulfilling, wholesome relationship with your dead, regardless of the tradition or the upbringing you came from. Okay. Some of y'all from the Sankofa school class are in here and you remember this particular slide, and I've been integrating this into your life. Number 1, I cultivate deep intimacy with my ancestors. That's what we will be talking about next. Deep intimacy. Know them inside and out. Know how to communicate with them. Know the way they communicate with you. Know what it feels like when they're present. Know how to call them into presence. Know how to share with them and apply reciprocity to your relationship. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. 2, I learn as much about their lives and from their lives as I can. We are Black people, African people. There's a concept called Sankofa, which means to go back, to go forward. It is not taboo to go back for what was lost. It is not beneficial for us as African people to repeat the same cycles over and over. we go back. When we do go back, it's to go forward further. So we go back to learn as much about our ancestors' lives and from their lives as we can. We try and get names, dates, birth times, da 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 da. If we can't find that, we're asking questions. Grandma, who was your daddy? Daddy, who was your auntie? How did it go? Oh, grandma, granddad beat you? Oh, okay. And then, okay. Mom saw that. Okay, now mom is getting abused. Oh, I remember when I saw that. Now that's the kind of relationship I'm building. When you can see the patterns, it's easier to stop the patterns. But if you can't see the patterns, or if you're not asking those questions, it's going to be a little bit harder to have context for what you're going through today. So when we dedicate ourselves to our dead, we learn about their lives so that we can make sure that we're moving back to move forward. Number 3, I live my life with the best of my ancestors as my exemplars and the worst of them as my warnings. There are ones that you want to uplift into deityhood because they lived a shining example of who to be and how to be. There's some in between. There's some at the back end or the bottom end. Some that we can't even call ancestors. We call dead people. And we use those as our warnings for how not to be. Okay. And so when we're talking about cultivating intimacy with our ancestors, there are certain ways that we do that within the Hoodoo tradition, right? One of them is through the creation and consistent working of a living ancestral altar. What I mean by a living ancestral altar is an altar that you show up to frequently, with offerings, with words, with ashe, with energy, a sacred space that you create that is a portal of communication between you and your ancestors that you show up to living. At any given time, there is water on that altar, or food, or even if you don't have either of those things, it's you sitting in front of it. Your ashe is water and food. A living ancestral altar, not necessarily something pretty that you gotta leave in the background, with figurines. That's nice. But the ashe comes from you being present. So you can create intimacy with your ancestors by having an altar practice through prayer, conversation, permission, and invitation. Many of us are in situations where our household is, in addition to all different types of violence, there is spiritual violence happening. You might not have the space, capacity, freedom to build an altar to your ancestors. So what you need to know is that you are the first altar to your ancestors. Their DNA exists within your body. Every drink of water you take, you are taking for them. Every time you step into the sunshine and soak in some warmth, you are empowering your ancestors. Every time you go into that ocean and wash yourself, you are washing yourself for your spiritually cultivated ancestors, right? So through prayer, however, in conversation, and allowing them permission to communicate with you and inviting them to communicate and be present with you, you are empowering yourself even more. You're leveling up. You're opening the door for them to talk back to you. You're saying, I have developed the ability to communicate with you. I have developed the desire to communicate with you. Give me the ability. Right? Do I hear you? Do I see you? Do I smell you? Do I taste you? Show me you so I can figure that out. Giving them permission is always a powerful way to break through any blockages to feeling, seeing, smelling your ancestors, as a lot of people have. Give permission and watch what happens. And finally, we cultivate intimacy with our ancestors through provisions, offerings, and sacrifices. Ancestor relationships are reciprocal. Right? We give, we get back, we give, we get back, we give, we get back, and we both grow exponentially in that process. We both serve each other in that process. You cannot have a just give and take or give or take relationship with your ancestors. That's not going to work. So when we provide our ancestors with our libations of water or our prayer or our food stuffs or our candies and cigars and liquor or our sacrifices. Sometimes the sacrifice is not a chicken, okay, a goat. Sometimes the sacrifice is I'm not eating sugar anymore because Big Mama, I know that's how you passed. You ate too much sugar. So I'm going to sacrifice sugar for the cultivation of the blessing of our lineage. That's a sacrifice. It don't got to be a chicken's neck, right? So that is an offering that we make to our ancestors that cultivates intimacy. And if you are in a situation where you are a practitioner or you study or, you know, are moving into practitionerhood as it pertains to African spiritual tradition, and you're in an abusive situation, you're going to want to internalize this, because these ancestor communication and relationships are going to be a large source of your power and your protection outside of you, your ancestors in addition. All right, while you're in it, depending on your situation and the nature of the abuse that you are surviving through, covertness may be required. You may not have the time, money, or ability to purchase too much. I've had situations where clients have emailed me and said, hey, I really want one of your products, but I can't send it to my house. Can you send it? Can we come up with an agreement on a place to send it? And I'll go pick it up when I have the space or time. Can I come by the office to pick it up? Can I come to the shrine to make this offering? That happens all of the time. And I do my best to accommodate all those situations because not everybody has the ability. There's, you know, somebody told me, I've gotten a message from somebody whose daddy got the spiritual medicines we sent to somebody in the mail and sent me an email talking about, don't you send nothing to this house anymore. They're grown offspring, that their grown offspring purchased. So sometimes you're not going to be able to get it from nobody else. It's got to come from you. So these are some of the spiritual medicines that we might mention today, and some of the spiritual medicines that you might want to always keep close that are easy to find. In the grocery store, you might have some already in the kitchen. Prayer, free, available, 100% there for you. Use your mouth, say it out loud, channel it from your lungs to your mouth, from your lungs to your heart to your mouth. Say what you need with an open heart and an open mouth. Water, salt, pepper, black pepper or cayenne pepper, rosemary, basil, simple candles that you might find around the house. You don't need the fancy schmancy Botanica candle. You can get your little vanilla scented so-and-so candle, and that could work for your spiritual purposes as well. Something that you might already have in the home, something that your mama keep in the back. Use what you have. Your body, one of the first spiritual tools you were ever given, and one that you should use consistently. And we'll talk about that in just a second. All right, while you're in it, taking effective covert spiritual baths. Spiritual baths are an extremely efficacious medicine in the Hoodoo tradition. I say this a lot, and I really do stand by it. Taking a spiritual bath for yourself is damn near the strongest type of spiritual work you can do. Those of us who have taken a spiritual bath know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, I would highly implore that you do. There is something incredibly profound about stepping back into the water to cleanse yourself and be reborn. Spiritual baths are akin to returning to the water of the womb so that you can be reborn. Whether you're doing that in the ocean, which is the womb of the earth, whether you're doing it as your bathtub, it is a symbolic re-representation of being in the womb again, right? Some baths you pour over your head. It's a symbolic representation of being born, of the water breaking and you emerging. So some baths that allow you to be covert, that aren't too complicated, will do a lot to prepare you, to protect you to cleanse you while you're in it. Because, of course, you're strong. You might be able to take a lot. At least that's what I told myself. I'm strong enough to take this. I'm so glad it's happening to me and not somebody who wasn't as strong as I am. Well, if you're taking that, if you're receiving that, you need to be able to reset your energy levels, to reset your energy body, to detox your mind, your energy body, and your spiritual body from any implantations that this person might be infecting you with on a spiritual level. So simple cleansing, sea salt bath, would highly recommend doing this for 3 days. Helps you to cleanse from internal and external psychic debris. Come back to baseline. When you're in an abusive situation, there are a lot of highs, a lot of lows, a lot of frantic, frayed energy. You might be calm, they come at you sideways. Now you're feeling on 10 when you were on 2. You know, they love bomb you after an emotional dispute. You go from 10 back to 2. There's a lot of that tends to happen, and doing a simple sea salt bath will help bring you back to a good baseline so that you're familiar. Oh, this is what I feel like when a lot of wildness isn't happening, right? This is what I feel like when I'm normal, when I'm back to my standard. Oh, when you're back to that space, you can recognize easier when somebody's trying to take you off of your square through manipulation. So it's to reclaim ownership of your mind and body as well. You're going to fill your tub with lukewarm water. You're going to whisper, sing, or speak prayers into that water. You're going to add 0.5 to 3.5 pounds of sea salt to your bath water, as much as you can muster, as much as you can, right? Wash yourself down and out from head to feet. Now, people will tell you not to sit in a spiritual bath. I am not, within the Hoodoo tradition, there's many, many, many different types of spiritual medicines that you must imbue yourself in. And since we're talking about covert baths, you're going to want to get in that bath, scoop your water up and down your body. You are taking energy off, taking external energy off. So you're washing down, washing from your head to your feet. Even if you're just scooping up the water a little bit, do that. You'll feel the difference. And as you finish, take out the drain, let that water go down the drain. Exit the bath and wear as much white as possible, or light colors if for whatever reason there's a suspicion if you show up in all white, which happens. Wear as many light colors as you possibly can. Now, a note on urine. I know that's kind of an interesting note to add, but within the Hoodoo tradition, the use of urine is often used in dominating rituals where you need to mark your own territory, when you need to claim what is yours. So when we're talking about imbuing yourself with the spiritual medicine, one thing you might want to consider is remembering that you are your own property, and that while you're in that bath, you may want to add some extra of your own personal ashe to your bath water. Right? I know there's feelings about it. I know that there's confusion, but if we're talking about making covert spiritual baths from what you got, that's one thing you got. And it's also a very powerful spiritual medicine within the Hoodoo tradition. Reclaim yourself. If you can do it, if you can pull it off, that's another bit of juju, another layer of juju you can add. While you're in it, let's see. Now, if you have access to more herbs and medicines, another effective spiritual bath you can use is a bath to make decisions. I would highly suggest using this only if you have cultivated a connection with your ancestors, because it is your ancestors who are going to see this medicine that you're taking and hold you accountable to it. So this decision-making type of bath is to open the doors to your ordained highest path and to close the door to stagnancy and past strongholds. The medicines we use to open our doors or to push us in certain directions that are beneficial for us: coffee grounds, black pepper, clove. Boil a mixture of these medicines in a pot, a big pot if you have it, a pot of greens pot if you do. If you don't, use a smaller one on the stove. Pray over that the doors be open to what you need to be in order to be safe, sound, healthy, whole, and powerful, and that the doors to anything other than that close, and that your ancestors make sure that this happens even when you're not thinking about it. Invoke them. Let them help. Sometimes you can't hold that space for you to make that decision, but if you invite your ancestors to say, help me make the right decision when I can't think to make the right decision for myself, watch what happens. Stand in the tub, pour it over your head and down your body after taking a regular shower or bath. After you're finished, air dry, moisturize, wrap up in white. And what you're going to do is leave an offering of sweets, tobacco, or liquor at the crossroads. There's a lot that can be said about the crossroads in the Hoodoo tradition, but what it all boils down to, regardless of how deep you are into the tradition or not, at the crossroads is where we make the decisions that are life-changing. And when we decide that we are choosing wholeness, when we decide that we are choosing life, when we decide that we're choosing power, and we make that decision, we know it is the crossroads that allowed us the space to do that. So we give an offering after we've made a decision or before we're thinking about making a decision to the crossroads. Now, there are a lot of, there's so much more medicine at the crossroads, but we don't have the time to get into that right now. But just know that while you're in it, to cause an abuser to leave your house. We do a lot of talking about leaving, right? I have left. The way I got out of my abusive intimate partner relationship, in who I was living with, I had to physically exit and not be found for about a week or two until that was complete. Very, very hard. Very, very hard. Came after a lot of prayer. But sometimes it's your house. Or sometimes you want that house. You work for that house. And you need this person to leave your space. So to cause an abuser to leave your house, you want to petition your ancestors for assistance and protection through a prayer and or offering. Give them some cool water, give them some liquor, give a prayer in a corner somewhere. You don't got to do much. You can just be out in the front porch and pour out a little liquor. It don't got to be too obvious, but make sure your ancestors know that they have the freedom to assist you in this process. Pray over a mixture of salt, cayenne pepper, and if you can manage to get some powdered glass or iron ore, mix those, pray over them. And every time your partner leaves the house or even leaves a room that you're in, put some on the ground and sweep some behind them. Right? Every time they exit the home, you see them leave, they're out a little bit, take your mixture, sweep it behind them. It is said that expels them from the space and makes it difficult or impossible for them to come back in. And one thing we know is that, it may all happen at once, depending on how fed up you are, your ancestors are, and how the spirits coalesce to help your situation. They may never come back after that first sweep. But this is something that you're going to want to do as much as possible. As much as possible, every single time. You're going to want to be on it. Because every time they leave, you are reaffirming, your ass ain't coming back. We don't need you here. It is not safe for you here. If you come back, you're going to meet a mixture of salt, cayenne pepper, and glass on a spiritual level. You'd be surprised about how effective that can be. You can also covertly sprinkle this same mixture in your abuser's shoes to keep them out in the streets and out of the home. Like Faya said, he walked out the door and I laid on that couch and had an orgasm just from the space. Just from the space. Some reprieve, some rest. This is to keep them out on the street. Now, we have a practice in the Hoodoo tradition called hot footing, right? This is a version of a hot footing. Hot foot usually has a couple more ingredients that are a little bit hard to find, but you can still engage that same practice with the mixture that you have here. Okay, as you're moving through it, spiritual medicines to maintain covertness and secrecy, protection. Sometimes you do gotta leave. Sometimes you gotta wake up at 2 in the morning, pack all the baby stuff, put it on your back, walk 2 miles to the nearest Greyhound station or bus stop without being seen or heard by the person or by law enforcement that they may call to get you or any of their relatives. So in that particular case, here are some medicines that can help you to invoke invisibility. Amaranth. They say it's a traditional grain of Mexico, but we know that is a very traditional grain to Ethiopia. Amaranth, you can find it in most grocery stores. You never seen it because you never really look for it, but it be in there next to the rice, next to the almond flour and that kind of stuff. Within the Hoodoo tradition, that is a medicine that has been used to invoke invisibility from the police. So you're going to want to keep that on deck. Acacia grows frequently in a lot of different areas throughout the South. Tansy grows everywhere. Devil's shoestring might be a little bit harder to find, but you can find it. And if you can manage to get some to your house, use that medicine. Medicines to protect the children. Angelica root. Basil. It said no evil can come to you if basil is around. Spearmint. Very, very protective from spiritually protective for children. Fennel, also very protective for children. Medicine to protect the traveler. If you are in transition, if you don't have any space to live yet, but you are leaving the space you were living at, High John the Conquer root, really, really beneficial for the traveler. It's like having a partner, particularly a masculine type of energy present with you while you are in transition. Someone there to protect you. And Arthur Flowers said, you don't have to call on High John the Conqueror. High John the Conqueror has already called on you. So this particular spirit within the Hoodoo tradition is very, very easy to access. You ain't got to do too much. If you are choosing life, you are choosing to communicate with High John. And having his root is an extra form of power, and it's an affirmation of that power. Pennyroyal, protected. Feverfew, protected. Wormwood. Now, wormwood is, I love this particular root because I am, for whatever reason, the type of person who, in my own just meandering, walking through the world, have a tendency to attract people who are possessed with cleansed, wholesome, non-cultivated entities. Those people look, it's like I'm a zombie magnet sometimes. And people be asking me for things that I cannot give them, wanting things from me that I never even considered, and needing it. And wormwood has been the single medicine that has been able to help me be repellent to those types of eat your brain type of energies, right? And sometimes when you're out there walking through the world, I know I've been walking through the streets at 3-4 o'clock in the morning my own self. I have a pocket full of wormwood because I don't have the energy for it today. You getting it in the throat. Okay. Moving through it. So any of those herbs you can use to create a spray or a satchel to carry or use on your person, your car, or your property. Right? You can carry those medicines along with a prayer or something of sentimental value with you in a necklace. You can already have one ready to go by the time you decide to leave. You can also put those herbs in a mixture of water and alcohol, if you have it, into a spray and use it to spray on yourself, your children, and your property as you exit the situation. If you don't have the time or desire to do any of those things, you can always put them in your pocket. Blow, take a handful of herb, blow into it, blow your ashe into it, put it in your pocket. Nobody will be none the wiser. Now, on the other side of it, when you have a little bit more space, a little bit more wholesomeness, when you can start to feel yourself in your completeness again, clear mental space, solitude, and prayer are your best friends. I know a lot of us don't like to meditate, or it's very difficult for us to meditate the, traditional cross your legs, close your eyes way. And a lot of us do practice meditation in the form of dance, in the form of drumming, in the form of making music, singing, etc. All of those different forms of meditation that focus your mind on a single intention and clear out anything else, super helpful. Super helpful. It allows you to be present in the moment. I know when I was living with my abuser, I was walking on eggshells, even when the person wasn't there, because their voice was always in my head. Their concept of them was always in my head. I always had to watch what I do or edited what I said, which created this kind of double mind, right? I wanted to do something. There was something that told me not to do it. They had to war, and whoever won what I did. When you don't have to do that anymore, focusing the mind in that one single, simple direction will help you to make better decisions and to be able to identify when somebody is trying to hijack your sense of self, your own or because it don't sound like you. I've spent all this time with me. Well, who is this? That single space of mind is also what will help you to hear your ancestors when they throw something in there. You can discern their voices if you're someone who particularly, the voices of your ancestors, it all comes back to this practicing and cultivating a clear mental space. Do it through the breath. Everybody, let's take a deep breath one time right now. And exhale with a sound if you can. One more time. It does something to the body and the mind. Affirm your freedom out loud as much as you possibly can, in the mirror, in your video camera. I am free. I belong to myself. Celebrate the opening of your roads with your ancestral spirits. Celebrate. Whew, you done came out another one. You done came through another one. You may not be unscathed, but you're here. You're in having the capacity to build a healing space for yourself. You can lick your wounds here. Get some reprieve. Do some of the things that you said you couldn't do for yourself or didn't want to or didn't have the space to. You can do that and celebrate that with your ancestors. Make some good food for you and for them. Make your favorite drink and offer them some. Make their favorite drink and give yourself a little bit. And here is an affirmation of life for survivors. This is a prayer that I was instructed to write after the passing of Eloi, an activist. Give me one second. So Toyin was an activist who passed away this year due to an abuser saw her vulnerability and took advantage of it. Toyin was homeless. An abuser saw them, offered them a safe space to be, safe space to sleep for the night. And, 2 days later, Toyin turned up, passed. We say Black people don't die, we pass. But it's really hard for me to talk about it and to report that type of situation, just because it happens so much in the communities that we come from. There are a lot of stories that I've personally witnessed of, neighborhood women that you know from the street showing up in trash bins with their babies. And in the affirming of our freedom and the affirming of our liberation, we are protecting ourselves and removing ourselves from the yoke of abusers. We are killing the abusers justly, no questions asked. And then we pour back into ourselves. So the prayer says, to the divine deity of my own head, I stand in awe of my brilliance. Every day I can start anew with a cool head and a fresh heart. My spirit helps me to heal parts of myself that don't want to be healed. My body is a storehouse of power, and it is mine alone to possess. My grief is not my adversary. I process it in my own way, at my own time, and without shame. Being wronged taught me resilience. Giving light to my pain helps others recover. May my beloved ancestors continue to comfort me, even in the times I cannot do it for myself. My life is mine to enjoy fully. Ashe. One thing that I highly suggest in any of your prayers to your ancestors for healing is to ask them to do it for you when you can't do it for yourself. When you are not conscious of what's happening, when you can't give any energy to the situation, your ancestors who are always there, ask them to give you that push. A lot of the times we say, something just told me to, they know who told you. They know who told you to do it. It was not of your own volition sometimes. And give them permission to do things that are beneficial for you and their lineage that are not of your own volition. On the other side, spiritual bath recipe for cord cutting and clearing. A cord cutting bath, or a cut and clear bath as it's often called, is used to detach draining energetic cords of attachment and to reclaim ownership again of your mind and body, to help you in the process of detaching emotionally, financially, physically, and spiritually from your abuser, which is the hardest thing you can do, even after leaving, even miles away. Sometimes distance ain't enough. So this spiritual medicine is for this purpose. Boil a mixture of hyssop, rue, and black walnut in a pot with water. Pray for all cords of attachment to be dissolved and demolished. Vocally, out loud, anytime I'm saying prayer, use your mouth. Please use your mouth. You don't have to. And if you're in a situation where it's dangerous, you don't have to. But if you can, hear yourself, feel yourself say it. Words sound power. We do not pray in quiet. We do not pray in begging. We pray in affirmation within African spiritual tradition. So please say it vocally. Pray for cords of attachment to be dissolved and demolished. Let it come from your heart. Strain and let cool. Stand in a tub, and after cleansing your body regularly, this is one that you're going to want to pour over your head and down your body. Let it pour over your head, down your body. Let it get in your hair. That top of that head, that 3 inches at the top of your head, super sensitive spiritually. Cleanse it. Air dry. Moisturize. Wrap in white. Leave an offering of fresh flowers for your ancestors, either at the altar that you will create on this other side, or at the crossroads or at any other sacred point of space in your environment that you can go to. Okay. Some simple instructions for building an altar. We don't have a lot of time, but basically the tip is start with the basics. Start with the basics. Your ancestors will help you decorate around there. If you can, find a relatively private, comfortable space in the home or outside of the home where the ancestors can remind you of their presence, where you feel safe enough to sit and receive when necessary. Face the east if possible, or the direction of where your ancestors' bones live, right? It can be sometimes your ancestors' bones in the backyard, face those. Sometimes your ancestors' bones, sometimes you're in New Mexico and your ancestors are buried in Seattle. Turn your altar there. Cleanse the space energetically and physically. Cleanse items that will go on that altar with smoke or blessed water. Highly suggest blessed water. Remember to keep your altar and the area around the altar clean. More important than what you put on it is what you do at it. Work it. Visit frequently. Spend time there. Commune there. Keep it sacred. Having a little water, a little light, whether it be sunlight or candlelight, a little scent there, whether it be perfume or incense smoke. That's all you need. That's all you need. And they will tell you how to grow that altar in design and power as you work it, but you need to work it. There's rarely a wrong way to do this. Okay. But don't mind that counterproductive way thing. Start with what is available. Okay. So make sure that the community you seek out, the chosen family you seek, are a community that have demonstrated to you and other people that they are of good character and can provide support and power, right? Sometimes many of us will leave the abusive situation and find someone who is a dead ringer for our first abuser. I know that was me, right? Sometimes we're leaving a relationship and running towards a friendship. That's a dead ringer for the relationship in other ways. So before we, let me say it like this, as we're deciding to open up our solitude and invite other people to be in community with that we may not know, that we might not have met before, make sure that you're aware of what good character is. Therapy, highly suggest therapy as much as possible for anybody who is transitioning and want to kind of clear some things out. In the email that we send, we're going to provide some low-cost therapy and counseling links and communications. There's some publications that we're going to provide. Really, really suggest getting with a wise person, an elder, a therapist, someone whose only job in this moment is to be honest, true, and clean and clear with you. Bring them around so you can help yourself to determine what is good character and what is not, if you need that help. And then surround yourself with people that check off good character. Enjoy your solitude. Also, make sure to ask your spirit guides to guide you towards communities of support. If you are dedicating yourself to your ancestral connection, ancestral communication, and you decide that you want to open yourself back up to a community, ask them to step in and be your discernment for times where you might not have it. And watch what happens. Watch who suddenly floats away from you. Watch who can't call you, can't reach you on the phone no more. Watch who's calling you suddenly. Watch who you meet in the grocery store. Pay attention to those kinds of things because they happen. All right, and that concludes the slides for the class. So I'm going to stop the share and maybe open up space for any follow-up, preliminary, or follow-up questions before we get to this.
Participate in the movement of your body to take it off.
Negative